Let's learn why this guy thinks space isn't real. I believe this is a video from Owen Benjamin. It should be fine, though. Owen Benjamin has been known for his anti-Semitic remarks, but none of them should be in this video. So,
it's gonna sound crazy, but I was...
H. Baird says the Shiva statue was a gift to CERN from the nation of India in 2004. CERN used to have a website dedicated to addressing all the conspiracy theories about them. I think it's better just not to. Ignore the conspiracy theorists. The world moves on without them like it always does.
Listening to John Lennon's Imagine, one of the worst songs ever made. Like, it's brilliant wizardry, but it's truly horrifying.
Ah, yes, the song Imagine. Truly horrifying. You can criticize John Lennon as a human being a lot, but that's a good-ass song. That's a great song.
Imagine there's no heaven. No hell below us, imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, but above us only sky, right? So, just like when I stopped watching porn and I replaced it with conspiracy videos, right? The way...
Oh, okay, that doesn't seem to be working out for you. J.I. Lost says, I smell Ben Shapiro.
Things work, the way humans work, the way consciousness works, the way everything works, is you have to replace things with things. So we are a people that looks up to God, and we...
Can I point out that he's just got a weird, conspicuous bear skin rug hanging out right behind him? It's not relevant to the video, it's just an interesting decor choice.
Pray. And we look up, and we can't believe the majesty of the clouds, and we think about heaven, and just the enormity and the beauty of it. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try.
Serenity Owl says, conspiracy.
No hell below us, above us only sky. So we took the action of looking up and seeing God, and we don't see God up anymore. We see empty space coupled with infinite possibilities. It's...
Okay, what's this guy's name again? Owen? Owen, listen. I understand that you're religious, and that's fine. The anti-Semitism you've exhibited is not cool, but your religion itself, I don't particularly care. I don't care what people's religion is as long as they're not hurting anyone. Unfortunately, a lot of people use their religion as an excuse to hurt people. But, just like... on its own, I don't care if you look up in the sky and see the majesty of God or whatever thing you believe in. That's cool. It doesn't change the fact that we have sky above us, and then through the atmosphere, then there's space. Space is a place that exists. Humans have been there. There are humans there right now. I don't understand how you can deny this at this point.
It's the ultimate wizard spell.
Also, wizards aren't real. Do I need to point that out again?
Because Isaac Asimov, and according to Vox Day, his son is like one of the worst pedophiles in history. A lot of these sci-fi guys are fucking awful human beings, by the way. So you have all these wizards, these high-level wizards, and they'll phrase it in ways that'll blow your fucking mind. Where they're like, this blew my mind when someone said that there's more galaxies in the universe than grains of sand on all the beaches in the world. So you think a galaxy is full of solar systems that are full of planets. I mean, even if you have a bunch of planets with nothing on there, it's like the odds that there's another planet like us or another planet like, it could be anything, right? In your mind now, it goes infinite. It goes...
Okay, that's not a bad thing. I would be more concerned at the idea that we are the only life in the universe, Earth, not just humans. Of course, there's other life on the planet Earth, but I mean, I would assume there are other planets that at least have the capability of having something resembling life, or life as we understand it, or life as we don't understand it. I think that's a beautiful idea. I don't find that to be empty or devaluing in any way. I find that to be hopeful and wonderful. Why would the existence of other things that live and reproduce and grow and think in this universe, why would that be a bad thing?
Anything you can imagine is there. all the grains of sand in all the beaches. There's more galaxies than that. But it's also...
Woo! Cass, you just laid down some kind of terrible cat poop. That was bad. Jesus.
completely void of everything. Like the space between it's like 1 light year is the distance that light travels in a year. That's 186,000 miles a second. So a full year is a distance that we cannot comprehend. That is the emptiness. That is an emptiness that you can't wrap your mind around.
Sure.
And space is completely empty. It has no...
The empty parts. Maps and Mimic says, my wizard just hit level 9 as we're coming up on the 2 years of the campaign. Is that a high enough level for this dude? Also, I share a name with this dude, which makes me sad. I'm sorry. That's cool, though. Level 9. Fun. We just got to level 2 in our new campaign. Anyway, Owen. I understand space is big and empty and scary, but space isn't entirely empty. We live in space. Space has a lot of empty space. It's kind of what makes it space. But we all exist in it. We're an island in a large sea, and that's okay. Like, I understand that for some reason that depresses you, and I'm sorry, genuinely, that gives you some sort of existential dread or fear or whatever, but it doesn't change the reality of observable fact. So you need to learn to deal with reality in some sort of healthy way that isn't just denying it outright, which seems to be your current strategy. Sky Comet Fallen says, is he high? No. Lily Love Stuff says, can I be an island in the stream? Sure, you're an island now.
Atmosphere has nothing. It is the absence of everything. So what does it do simultaneously? What is this generation lost in space with no time left to start again? I mean, it's in the songs. The devil can't...
A generation lost in space would be used to describe people born in, like, the 50s and raised in the 60s and 70s through the space race and the aftermath. I don't think people are... Don't get me wrong, there's, like, people who are interested in space and stuff now, but it's not like the cultural phenomenon it was back in, like, the 1960s. Just saying.
So, we look up and we see complete emptiness. Like, we are a speck. We are nothing. We are a ball spinning with no direction in a sea of emptiness that we can't possibly conceive of. Nothing is there. But simultaneously, anything you can possibly imagine is up there as well. And so,
sure. I guess anything that's theoretically possible, sure. Do you not find possibility to be hopeful? It's weird that you see possibility as a negative thing. That's counterintuitive to me.
Bridge that gap between science fiction and reality, which is what science attempts to do. Science is wrong more than fucking anything.
What?
Watch any movie from the 90s or anything where they're just referencing anything scientific. They were wrong about fucking everything.
Does he think science is movies? Does he think movies are science? Does he think the Michael Bay movie about the meteor was a scientifically peer-reviewed paper of some kind?
So to bridge that, you had to put a human being up there. You had to blow people's fucking minds. You had to merge those two ideas, right? So you have the ultimate wizard spell. Infinite emptiness, infinite possibilities, right? You put it in the same place people used to look at God with, right? You used to look at stars to align yourself, like where you were. You looked at the moon to see, like, was it harvest moon? Like, are we planting right now? Like, how's the tides? It helped you orient yourself. And you focused on the earth and your family and your surroundings. And
nothing is stopping you from doing that. Don't get me wrong, space is interesting, but it's not a primary focus of my life in any way. I happen to understand that space exists, like most people, and that it's a cool thing and that we exist within it and that we hope to someday, you know, be able to go there more readily to do things on the moon and maybe within our own solar system or whatever. But, like, it's not something that takes up any large part of my thoughts or brain or priorities. It's just a thing that happens to be real. It's like knowing the ocean is out there, you know? I know the oceans exist. It doesn't mean it preoccupies my every waking moment or my priorities in any way. Narnania Owl says, it's always funny to me how the religious angle demands that they think God could only create our Earth. It's very weird.
It gets, guys, I'm right about this. It's brilliant and evil. Okay, we're thinking about terraforming Mars. Just think, what does that do to a...
That's more science fiction than science fact at any point within any of our lives. I don't think that's something that's going to happen. Hey, I could be wrong, you know, but that would be a centuries in the future thing if we continue to still exist. That would not be a now or decades from now thing. That would be centuries and centuries, if not millennia, with technology that we are not capable of understanding because it's more sci-fi than sci now. Stone Corbell says, loved the closed captioning, terraforming Marx. Tucker White says, if you think the vastness of space is a mind F, look up at black holes. That's a bigger mind F. And Braided Jade says, are you right about this or anything for that matter?
Population. Okay, so people are now like, life on Mars. Okay, we skipped all over. The moon is, no one talks about the moon. By the way, the Mars is a red version of the moon.
What? The moon is a natural satellite of the planet Earth. It's a moon. It's not a planet. Mars is a planet, which is not a moon of the Earth. I'm pretty sure Mars has moons. It is not a moon. It's a planet. The moon, as we know it, Earth's moon, is going around the Earth, whereas Mars is going around the sun in its own orbit. They're different astronomical bodies. They're different kinds of astronomical bodies. Hera Cheryl 1987, thanks for subscribing. Appreciate it.
It's just as empty. There's no atmosphere. It's way farther. Way harder to get to, apparently. It's just red. And it's full of dust. And nothing's there at all.
Just summed up a whole planet. Lovely.
But yet now everyone's like, gotta get to Mars. Right? So people are like, okay, we can terraform Mars. We can alter the atmosphere. No one's doing that to fucking Greenland. No one does that to fucking Alberta. You know how much land?
Because the idea, at least in theory on Mars, would involve changing the atmosphere of Mars. And if you change the atmosphere to affect Greenland, it would also affect the rest of the planet. We're already kind of accidentally affecting the atmosphere on the planet through release of greenhouse gases and stuff and causing climate change, which is a really bad thing. So, again, I don't think Owen even knows what he's talking about.
On Earth, Earth is designed. Earth is perfect for human life. The amount of...
Ah, yes, Earth. Perfect for human life, which is why we can't live on the vast majority of the surface of it. Genius.
Oxygen and carbon, all that. What are we saying? We are killing our Earth. We are killing it, and us being here is ruining our mother. Carbon emissions this will be uninhabitable, so we will have to go to Mars?
No. Anyone who's trying to sell you terraforming Mars as any sort of solution to climate change is either an idiot or a scammer. Period.
If you think Earth, like, we could detonate all the fucking atomic bombs we've ever made. We could...
Let's not.
It would be a utopia compared to anything you could possibly do to Mars.
Yeah. I don't want to live on Mars. What? You're literally just comparing things to dumb shit Elon Musk says. Don't listen to Elon Musk, he's an idiot.
Mars is hostile to all life. Mars, you can't take one breath without instant death.
Maps and Mimic says, less than 1% of the water on the Earth is fresh and safe to drink. Also, he's so wrong it hurts. H. Baird says, if you want to know why we haven't met aliens yet...
Because all you of Earth are idiots.
Where did it go? There we go.
Mars is...
Oh, sorry, there's more bits. Carney says, this always gets me. Earth was not designed for humans. Humans evolved to live on Earth. Lily Lovestuff says, so when I was in high school, I had one period my senior year where I worked with the school's astronomy teacher in our planetarium. Kindergartners, 3rd and 5th graders used to come to our school for field trips, and I still remember making a boy cry when talking about the vastness of space. I feel like that happened to this guy. Sky Comet Fallen says, why do conservative religious people insist on the most boring, depressing, and uninspiring model of the universe and how to live? Because it's comforting to them, because it's what they were taught when they were very young.
Is not capable of having any human life on it without, even theoretically, if it's even possible, an unimaginable amount of technology and engineering to keep you alive as you're in this horror of a landscape. We're like, our temperature may go up 1 degree in the world, in the sea level, and we must go to Mars, and that's...
No, people who are seriously trying to tackle climate change, not a single one of them is claiming that we need to terraform another planet. That's not a plan. That's a scam.
That's a dead end. Our nearest star, Alpha Centauri, is what, 2 light years? You can't comprehend that distance. If you go the speed of fucking light, it takes 2 years to get there. So what, you go there, it takes you 2 years. But when you go the speed of light, according to Einstein's theory of relativity, time passes way faster everywhere outside. So if you travel the speed of light for 2 years, according to Einstein, it might be a conspiracy theorist, but the rest of the...
Tea with Goblins says, how to convince religious fundamentalists to fund space exploration. Tell them that there are non-Christians on other planets that need to be preached to by missionary astronauts. Let's not do space imperialism. I'd prefer not to see that rerun. Dr. White says, ah yes, the Earth is so perfectly designed for humans that we're surrounded by animals more adept for it and who could kill us with the mildest of effort.
The world would age like 30 years, right? So how in the fuck would you possibly even go to our closest star that most likely has absolutely no planets that can possibly have life, right?
We aren't going to. I don't think we're going to. Probably ever. Why is this something you're even pretending to be concerned about? This has nothing to do with the fact that you don't believe space exists.
We have a giant Earth, and we can do amazing things here, and it's designed for life. But yet, we're already not looking at it. We're done with it. We've ruined her. We've raped and murdered and sacrificed. And now when we look up, we don't see God in the heavens just saying, one day you'll get here, be a good person. You look down, you don't see hell, you don't see Jimmy Savile, all the people that fucked up that are now burning in hell. No, you see like the mantle and the nickel core and the blah, blah, blah. They took away our connection to everything.
Carney says, no, he's got it reversed. Time would appear to move slower when you're on the fast-moving ship.
And they replaced it with nonsense. Infinite vastness and infinite possibility.
Does he think hell is literally underground? Seems like it.
And none of it you can ever accomplish.
I thought that when I was like 5 years old. 4 years old. Seriously.
That's the ultimate fucking psyop. It's like, it's perfect. And evil as fuck.
Psyop on the bingo card.
Just believe. Do you question science? Do you question science? How the fuck would you make Mars livable? Why haven't we tried to make the moon livable? And why don't we focus on...
I think the idea would be that the moon is gravitational field is too weak to sustain any sort of atmosphere. Again, we're still talking about like science fiction concepts, not science fact, but if you were trying to build an atmosphere, it'd be like impossible to do so on the moon because its gravitational pull is far too weak because of its low mass in order to sustain any kind of atmosphere.
On the Earth that's unbelievably livable. We're just so enamored with these fucking wizard priests that don't know shit about science. I know more about science offhand than some of these wizard priests. It's like, they'll just try and blow your mind with like things that you can't imagine. It's like, on Venus, the atmosphere is so dense that 2-mile-an-hour wind would knock you right off your feet because of all the density of the atmosphere. And it gets...
Darker White says, honestly, a hell that's just boiling magma and fire is just boring. If there is a hell, it's probably tailor-made for each individual. For Hannah, it's just a room with a giant-ass TV that only airs Family Guy. Hydrate.
400 degrees, and it's like, who gives a fuck? We're not going. We're not living there. It's impossible to go there. We can't get back to the fucking moon, apparently. We never went to the moon, guys. We never went to...
We did go to the moon. Sorry, Sky Comet Fallen. Said, what? Is this what this is about? You just want to be special? Grow up. True.
The moon.
Probably Cthulhu says, of course he knows more about wizard priests. They don't exist.
And there's a reason these lies exist. It's to keep people... It's to keep their eyes in that shit. That just fucking nonsense. Infinite emptiness. Infinite nihilism. The amount of empty, just random, hopeless, black, coupled with anything you can imagine. How the fuck is that not a psyop? And then you couple that with the fact that all evidence says that we never went to the moon, and that...
No, we went to the moon. We went to the moon. There's literally a mirror on the surface that you can shoot a laser at to prove we went to the fucking moon, you idiot.
NASA just endlessly lies. It was started by an SS Nazi who was best friends with Walt Disney. They said they no longer have the technology. They erased all the tapes, and no other countries ever went to the moon. How can you believe that? How can you live in a world where you aren't skeptical enough, or you're like so just... You just have to fucking fit in? Are you scared? Like, what is it? Everything isn't a lie. Yeah, we faked the fucking moon landing. So what?
No, we didn't fake the moon landing.
That's a real keyboard. This is a real fucking White Claw spritzer. It's freeing. It makes you realize that, like, that cognitive dissonance that people feel all the time and can't put their finger on it and just get angry at dumb shit. And it's like, just let it go. I don't know. I gotta go. Hit the like button. You guys know that this shit should be listened to.
Jesus fucking Christ, I hate that guy. Why is this guy so angry? He's super anti-Semitic. He's an asshole, genuinely.
Okay, let's talk. I'll help remove your pain with some love, okay?
Darker White says, for me, hell is either I get to watch movies all day, but it's films on IMDb's bottom 100 list, or I'm stuck in a gym with hundreds of school children and they sing Kids Bop tunes.
When you look at the solar system, there's 9 planets, right? According to Neil deGrasse Tyson, the alleged rapist.
There's 8 planets. This guy coming fallen says, listen, you dumb shit. We've known the Earth isn't flat for over 400 years. It's actually more than that. It's actually more than that.
They're all spinning in the same direction. You know the odds of that? 2 to the 9th power. 1 in 512.
They're all spinning in the same direction because they formed out of, like... They're spinning the same. It's not random. The direction that things are rotating around or going around the sun is not random. It's because they formed out of, was it called the accretion disk? Or is that something else? It formed out of a disk of basically debris around the sun long ago. The accretion disk, thank you. That is what it's called. I'm glad I remembered that correctly. It formed out of the accretion disk that was already going that direction. So slowly over time, the stuff on the accretion disk formed into planets. Some of them gas giants, some of them planets as we know them, like Earth with rock and stuff. And they continued spinning that direction because of conservation of momentum. That's how things work. Did you miss the hidden symbols stuff? Yes. Sorry. Probably Cthulhu says, what if he's anti-Semitic, then why did he bring up the Nazis as proof the moon landing was faked? Because he's disingenuous. Like, he literally is. He's literally an anti-Semite that, like, believes Jewish people, like, rule the world and do all sorts of stuff, and he uses racial slurs against Jewish people. It's really fucked up. Midnight with 100 bits says, we know the moon landing was fake. Candace Owen said so. Lily Love Stuff says, Venus spins opposite and Uranus spins at almost a 90-degree angle. He's not talking about their spin. He's talking about the direction that they go around the Earth. Or go around the sun, sorry. Sky Comet Fallen says, I'm an amateur astronomer. They aren't spinning in the same direction. Uranus rotates sideways. Kill me now. Yeah, they're orbit around the sun. That's the word. Sorry.
That's very rare. And by the way, during this conversation, do not say it was God's will. Because if you use God, you have to read the Bible. And the Bible does not depict the Earth as a spinning ball in a sea of nothing at all.
Hydrate.
So you can't have it both ways, guys. You can't have a firmament, four corners, God sits up and looks at us like grasshoppers. You can't have that and a spinning ball and nothing. Okay, listen, just please listen, because it's impossible. All right, next up on the solar system model, it's on a flat plane. Not just is the solar system a flat plane, the entire Milky Way galaxy is a flat plane. Want to talk about flat Earth? Oh, flat earthers. You're saying that after a Big Bang, even with the law of thermodynamics called entropy, which we'll get to in a second, somehow our galaxy ended up being a perfectly flat plane where all the planets spin in the same direction. The odds of that...
Again, it has to do with gravity. Surprise. It's fucking gravity.
Are less than winning the mega
Yeah, it's a Trump yarmulke on the bear.
lotto every single day for thousands of years. Understand that. Now look at the moon. The moon is a perfect circle. The odds...
Yeah, this is a quote. Hold on. Who said this? Someone says, he's openly said he's a fan of Hitler once and claimed, quote, Hitler was just trying to, quote, clean up the filth and fleas, end quote. Yeah, he's a fucking disgusting anti-Semitic piece of shit.
odds that happened...
Steve with a Q with 350 bits. Thank you. Kicks off a hype train. Hype train.
After Big Bang and just chaos of atoms and particles and dust and rocks colliding is zero. The odds are literally zero. There's no force. There's no wind. There's no
Gravity. The answer is gravity.
erosion. There's no water. There's no force acting upon that moon that would make it a perfect sphere.
Gravity. 90% of the time, the answer to a flat Earth's question is gravity. Just for the record. Little green person, thanks for 9 months, says sub baby. What's my sub baby's name? Arnold Palmer. Raja, thank you for 200 bits. Neemsor Kolboth, thank you for gifting 5 tier 1 subs to the community, bringing us over level 1, maybe even through level 2. Dr. Gamble with 50 bits says, I don't know why these guys always keep science like the law of thermodynamics when they throw out basic fundamentals such as gravity. It's because they're arbitrarily using things that they think work in their favor and throwing out things they think work against them. 30% to level 3 on the hype train. KBS with 50 bits says, the moon is an oblate spheroid, not a perfect sphere. All spheres in the solar system are oblate spheroids.
Next up, why are the craters all perfect spheres? The way asteroids hit...
They're not perfect spheres. Have you seen craters? They tend to be spherical because, again, even asteroids tend to come in, like, spheroid type shapes because of gravity, because when you're in a vacuum and things are just coming together with gravity, that's what's going to happen. But they're not perfect spheres. They're a result of the shape of the things that hit them.
Side angle. We've never witnessed an asteroid, okay? The odds that the spin of the moon is exactly the same speed as it rotates around the Earth, again, are 0. If it was...
It's called tidal locking. That is called tidal locking, and again, it is a result of, you guessed it, fucking gravity. Giish says, I just find it funny they think the world's governments would be united in their conspiracy. I know, right? Rand the Fool with Bit says, would it not be easier to adapt like God did that still? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. As a conspiracy, it makes no sense. 41% to level 3.
1/4 of 1 mile per hour different, it would slowly turn. The fact it doesn't, and there is 0 physics explanations.
Tidal locking. There's a literal name for it. The moon of planet Earth is not even the only body in the solar system that has tidal locking.
With the model of gravity as we know it to explain...
Or does that same thing. Crater that's not circular. Hey, look at that. Look at that ovular fuck. Bittergrin says, they're still never given me a good reason why anyone would bother to lie about all this. It doesn't make sense. You shouldn't try and think about it too hard, because it just doesn't make sense. Snarlbarks with 666 bits, ooh, says, one time I had a nightmare about hell, and it was just everyone who ever died in a really crowded room, and there was a screen playing through everyone's entire life as demons gave mocking commentary over it. It was quite wacky. I'm gonna start calling you Virgil. 77% to level 3.
Explain why the moon, why its axis rotation is exactly matching it rotate around us so that we only see one side.
Tidal locking. Carnio1 says, I wish I could talk with this kind of certainty about stuff I know nothing about. Right? The confidence. It's crazy. It's so misplaced. It's 91% to level 3.
Light being shined upon a sphere does not make the luminescence the same all the way across. You can do a test with a tennis ball and a flashlight. It's impossible. It can't happen. It only happens on 2-dimensional objects. Seeing as you've only seen one side of the moon because of its...
The luminance on the moon isn't exactly the same. What? It's also diffuse because of the fact that the moon isn't like a shiny, smooth ball. It's let's see what the texture I'm trying to describe. It's like sandy. Like when the astronaut stepped foot there, they made footprints because it's not like a solid, smooth ball. The light diffuses. Carney with 200 bits, thank you. 1% to level 4. Moon dust, it's dusty.
Miraculous rotation and its perfect circle. And the fact that the luminescence...
Oh, speaking of which, I guess I should mention this. Tomorrow we are doing the patron-only live stream for the month. So if you would like to be a part of that, you should join the Patreon. Which, can someone put a link to the Patreon? You just have to do !Patreon, and a link will come up. So we'll be doing that tomorrow, just so everyone knows. I do plan on doing a regular stream that might be a little shorter beforehand, maybe like a cringe stream or something that's everyone, and then we'll move over to the patron-only stream directly after that. Bittergrin with 100 bits says, also the sun is much bigger than the moon. Don't think a tennis ball in a spotlight, think a giant spotlight in a ping pong ball that's still not close, but it'll show the illumination better. 5% to level 4.
This is the same across the whole thing. Implies, I'm not stating this, it implies it's a 2-dimensional object. A lot more than it's a spinning sphere.
Hey, why does the shadow that's cast during eclipses, when the moon casts a shadow, why is it spherical? It doesn't cast a shadow as though it's a disk. It casts a shadow as though it is a sphere. These are observations that were made by human beings millennia ago, Owen.
Out of the chaos of the Big Bang. Okay? The size...
Tea with Goblins says, it's a lovely Sunday afternoon. I'm listening to Hannah laugh at conspiracy nutters and have made 6 liters of vegan curry. Who wants some? Sounds good. 10% to level 4.
And weight of the moon, according to science, it is impossible for it to be rotating around our Earth. The way the moon was created, according to mainstream science, is that an object the size of Mars hit our Earth and created the moon. That's nonsense. We would have rings like Saturn. Where's all the dust? Where's all the debris? Where's everything?
It formed into the moon.
That all just disappeared? That makes no sense at all. Next up, the sun is 400 times bigger and miraculously 400 times farther away than the moon. And like two machine-cut quarters, they line up perfectly.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But again, it's not magic. It's just a cool coincidence.
To make an eclipse. The odds of that are 1 in trillions times 1 in trillions times 1 in trillions.
Where are you getting those numbers? Like, actually show me the math on how you decided what the chances of that happening are. Because I've seen creationists do this a lot, where they'll be like, the chances of this are trillions and trillions and trillions. What are you basing those figures upon?
It's not possible. That the perfect circles in this world, which can't happen on the moon given the existing model, line up perfectly with something 400 times larger from a third factor, which is your fixed position on an Earth, that they claim is spinning 1,000 miles an hour. Okay, the shadow of the eclipse is 70 miles wide. There is no way to make a shadow smaller than the object.
That is objectively untrue. I've shown this before on the stream, people doing experiments of this. You absolutely can have shadows that are smaller than the object.
Of course, there are people that say umbra, because like goats, they've been trained to say that, but they cannot recreate an umbra on Earth. They only believe it because they've been indoctrinated to believe it since the time of their birth.
Let me see if I can find that video again, just because I find it funny to be able to debunk things on the fly with video evidence. Shadow smaller than object. Do 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 do. 30 seconds left on the hype train. 10% to level 4. Will it be saved?
Including the sun.
Hey, look, a shadow that's smaller than the object. That's effing crazy. Let me see if they got another one.
A partial eclipse, where only a portion of the tomato passes through the umbra, and a penumbral eclipse, as the tomato passes only through the penumbra.
I hate flat earthers. Tucker White says, FYI, the moon's distance from Earth varies, as does the speed of its rotation. A quick glance at Wikipedia tells you this. So, Owen, Speak the Truth 16, thanks for gifting 5 Tier 1 subs. Not quite fast enough to save the hype train, but still very much appreciated. That would have gotten us almost to level 5, so I'll count that as a win. Thank you very much.
By people who want to remove their connection to God. Okay, next up, evolution. So we have something called the Big Bang, which is the ultimate chaotic event. What banged? Who banged it? Why did it bang? How did everything come from a fixed point? Don't even try and tackle that because it makes zero sense.
All we know, as far as I know, and again, this is a lay person's understanding. I am not a physicist. I can't talk about this at any sort of educated level. The Big Bang is not an explosion in the incendiary sense that a lot of creationists seem to think it is. It's literally just describing a mass expansion of matter over a short period of time from a singularity into what we understand to be the universe over time. So it was everything being very, very tiny and compact and then expanding into what we understand of the universe as it to be now, as it continually expands. Adia Blue says, I hate flat earthers, says Hannah as she compiles her 5,000th hour of flat earth content. I feel called out. Hydrate.
But here's something that you can easily think of, and it disproves everything about mainstream science. The law of entropy is that matter and energy naturally go from order to chaos.
In closed systems, agreed. The Earth is not a closed system. We are constantly receiving energy from the sun.
If you break a glass...
And by the way, on a long enough time scale, entropy will still get you. That's how it works. Eventually the sun's going to die, and everything on Earth will too. That's how it works. Long time scales in the universe. Fun fact. We will eventually... I mean, we won't. We'll all be dead. But the universe will eventually reach heat death. It's the inevitable fate of the universe because of entropy. It's just a fact. But the Earth is not a closed system. So we live in basically a universal state of grace, where we are able to receive energy from the sun, which powers things like plants, which powers smaller animals, which are eaten by larger animals, which we eat along with plants and are allowed to have energy to grow and mutate and change. And that's how we have life. It's kind of an interesting thing. But all energy is borrowed, entropy is king, and one day it'll all be returned to the void.
Even after 1 billion years, the broken shards will not reform into the glass, because objects have a tendency towards entropy, towards...
They do, but if you add energy to the system like the sun does to the earth, and you put that glass together, then you can do that, and it doesn't break entropy. You are introducing energy into that system.
Dissolving, towards breaking apart. Whether it's empires or a broken glass, the longer you wait, the more the broken shards become sand. They get ground down, they will never go the other direction. So how do we have a human eyeball from
Randy Owl says, it's the circle of life.
a Big Bang? The Big Bang happens, and it creates a never-ending waterfall, cascade, domino effect of atoms smashing against each other in an empty darkness for eternity. So given the law of entropy, that things go from order to chaos, how on earth do we have the structure of a human eyeball?
Natural selection. Natural selection. We're not in a closed system. Life on this planet gets energy from the sun in some way, even if you're doing it by being a predator towards animals that get energy from plants, or if you're an animal that gets its energy directly from plants, or if you're a plant that just gets energy from the sun. Either way, you're growing and changing because you're receiving energy into the system. Logarth says, Hawking actually suggested that the critical point of the heat death of the universe, that there could possibly be a big crunch where the universe begins to collapse back into itself and energy and mass begins to collect into a singularity and a new Big Bang about every 20 trillion years. I was under the impression that that had been kind of falsified at this point, and that they have measured that the universe's expansion has reached basically escape velocity, where that's not something that could happen anymore. But again, layperson, I do not know. Sky Comet Fallen says you should do a stream solely on creationists. Maybe. Their arguments get real boring, though, I say as I cover a flat earther. Stone Corbell says, not to mention he's equating chaos and order in the colloquial sense, like a formed glass as opposed to a broken one, but cosmological entropy sees broken shards of glass and formed glass the same, it's just matter. Anti-Pretzel says, think of the Big Bang like this. Make an infinitely small speck containing all the infinities of the mass of our reality as we understand it. So dense, movement is impossible, and then after endless vibration, something managed to break the grid and it all goes boom outwards. J.I. Lost says, all of the people need to have their eyes ripped out so they can stop using them as reference points for every 5 fucking seconds. Logarth says, it was one of the Hawking's ideas I always liked, but it was in the 1970s, so maybe it's been disproven or eliminated as a possibility. Maps of Mimic says, glass grinds down to sand and it'll never be glass again. Where do you think we get glass from, dude? If we add some energy to the system, we get glass again. The analogy is actually pretty good. Tea with Goblin says, I suppose this really does speak to two profoundly different mindsets. I find the enormity of the universe to be comforting in an existentialist, cheerfully nihilistic sort of way. We're alone on our pretty spinning space rock, and the only meanings we have are the ones we make for ourselves. Space big. Perspective is important. Life is impermanent, and God isn't watching you masturbate. Relax. Well, that makes masturbation less fun for me.
In which we can see light and then recreate the light in our minds as images that represent our physical reality. It contradicts to a point of laughable mockery. Okay, now understand that if anyone says, well, sexual selection, Big Bear, you know, over long periods of time, I used to believe this stuff too. I believed all of it. I loved astronomy. I minored in evolution in college. I loved thinking of...
You minored in evolution? You can't minor in evolution. That's not a thing. You could minor in biology. Yeah. I stand corrected. Baja says you can minor in evolution. Womp womp.
About how...
Sky Comet Fallen says, humans made a better eye than God. It's called a webcam. I still find his claim suspect based on the fact that he doesn't understand how eyes evolved.
The environment would interact with a human being, increase their odds of procreation or decrease their odds of procreation, and certain genes would pass. Nonsense. You're telling me that that force that created the human eyeball which is unbelievably complicated. That through a long process of light hitting cells and then becoming rods and cones.
Baja Blast on the bingo card? Sure. Carney says he might have an evolution and I didn't. He might have an evolution and didn't learn a thing. He might have an evolution and didn't learn a thing.
If that's from sexual selection, why does our skin burn in the sun? Why do I need an umbrella right now so that my skin doesn't become red and cancerous?
You know there are people that did evolve in order to deal with having the sun exposed to their skin all day. They have extra melanin to deal with that. Just so you know.
Well, Big Bear, it's because you're from the north. Why don't I have hair on my body? Why would I die outside in 30-degree weather without a...
Because humans stopped requiring to have fur to keep themselves warm after we developed clothing, which again is the result of evolution. Like, the things we create, our ability to create things with our big brains is evolution.
structure around me.
And people do have hair on their body, it's just not thick fur. Yes.
If my people came from Northern Europe, which they did for so long, how come I didn't evolve to not die in the snow and then die in the sun? If sexual...
Are you under the impression that evolution means everything that currently exists should be invincible? That's not how that works. Again, I don't believe you took a single college course on evolution, or at least you weren't paying attention if this is what you believe, much less that you minored in it. Lily Lovestuff says, because you're white and you're literally a mutation, sir. In fact, the mutation is only like 4,000 years old.
Selection actually...
We're all mutations.
had an impact on us, like they say it
Does all this count as only reputable sources, the Bible? Yes.
did. If we can evolve to have the complexity of a human eyeball out of a Big Bang, even though that goes against entropy, why...
It doesn't go against entropy. The Earth is receiving energy from the sun. Tea with Goblin says, okay, but owl eyes are superior to human eyes. To my recollection, they don't have the blind spots that human eyes have. Therefore, owls are more perfectly designed than people and are the chosen of all God's creatures. All hail our avian overlords. Is he Dunning or Kruger? Bingo? Oh, let me check. Bingo. Forced sterilization, only free space. Yep. Oh, yep, you got it. Artemis, you win bingo! Looks like you already have a sub. I will write your name down real quick on the bingo winner sheet. J.I. Lost says, maybe if he'd majored in evolution instead of minoring in it, he'd understand it better, or at all. He doesn't even have a high school education level understanding of how evolution works, much less a collegiate level understanding. It's wild.
On Earth have we evolved to not have skin that's resistant to the one constant in our life at all
Literally, people have. Literally, people have.
times, which is the sun and then the winter. It doesn't make any sense, right? So what is the point of all this? Is this supposed to give you despair and fear? No, it's removing it. We were created. That glass that was broken was a glass because someone...
I would ask a more pertinent question, because I can explain under evolution why everyone isn't a perfect, being made for surviving on Earth. Can you answer the same thing in a creationist mindset? Why did God not give you perfect skin that doesn't get cancer? Just saying. H-Baird says, maybe he went to a bad Christian college and he really did minor in evolution. His biology class in Christian college was just no! Just every day, you came in and they said no! And they slapped you and then you walked out.
made it. So someone made us to have eyes to see, ears to hear, a mouth to taste, hands to touch, a woman to love, a child to hold, right? That is love. And so what's the purpose of life? Serving that which gave us all of it. God. And they want you to think that we are on a spinning ball in an infinite black, and every atom that just smashes together
He's not looking for evolution, he's looking for adaptation.
Randomly eventually became your parents, who randomly fucked and are now silently watching NCIS in some long, weird, passive-aggressive game. And
Alright, man. You doing okay?
you're just here to randomly smash your genitals against someone. No fucking way, guys.
I'll have you know... No,
That's despair. That's the world where you need medication to get out of bed. That's the world where you can be easily tricked because you have nothing to be grateful for.
What? Nothing. Don't worry about it. I was gonna say I don't smash genitals against anyone. I smash them inside Baja, and she smashes stuff inside me. Sky Comet Fallen says he must have gone to Trump University. I just read some books and watched Nova's Judgment City special, and I understand it better than this twit.
Or nothing to live for. When you know that your eyes of your children were created, that means whoever created it loves you. So serve that.
That XY girl says, I'll have you know, only my dad watches NCIS, and he watched it with his children.
Who loves you, which is your creator. There is no way that moon just got this. The story is an
TMI, I wasn't gonna say it.
endless serpent distracting you from God's love and making you sad and full of despair. And every time I point out one of these deceptions, and people say, oh, I can't be with you on this one, man. It's too much.
Is this the same guy that doesn't believe in dinosaurs and bans people that have good arguments? Yes, same guy.
Stress. I'm removing the stress. You're made in love. Your soul matters. Your choices matter. God loves you. Why would God give you eyes that can see your wife holding a baby? That came out of chaos? No. Why would God make all these unbelievable nonsense things that everyone tries to explain away? None of the scientists have any cohesion whatsoever. You know, they just changed the time frame of the Big Bang by 1 billion years, and no one batted an eye because they are not walking with God. Have gratitude. When you have gratitude towards your Creator, and it's so simple. Just be thankful every day. Be thankful that this was created, that this isn't random results of genital smashing. And then when you're thankful, when you say, thank you, God, God says, no problem.
Sky Comet Fallen says, facts don't care about your feelings, cupcake.
God is everything, guys. This is created out of love and form. And when you see it, your life has more form and order and beauty and love. You can forgive. You can call out bullshit. You can get mad and not be scared that you're bubbling with rage. The purpose of your life is to have gratitude and purpose and serve God, that which made you. That science didn't give you eyes. Random fucking over 1 billion years didn't give you ears.
It did.
God did. And that's logic. Do you think logic and math explains how our fucking solar system and galaxy is a straight flat plane?
Yes.
And even though we have the law of entropy, for some reason, the most complicated physical things that we can't imagine just came out of fucking? You're out of your mind. That is the illogic. Logic comes from a word, guys. Logos. Logic. It's the same.
Paladin's Fury says, one of my kids has horrible vision, another was born missing half his abdominal muscles. Did God do that? J.I. Lost says, I hate when people talk about things like this as if we're the ultimate life forms at the end of evolution. We're just things that exist. D with Goblin says, okay, but God also created childhood leukemia and tsunamis that wipe out entire towns, so...
The word, God, form, natural law, it's all the same thing. You know what is real and what is not real. And when you know truth will set you free, work will set you free. Labor, truth, love, family, soil, that's what's real. Then you won't fall for these tricks.
What an absolute nut.